Former Reagan economist, Presidential Medal of Freedom recipient, and author of Taxes Have Consequences. Art Laffer, great to see you, my friend. Happy New Year, or close to Happy New Year.
Great to see you, David.
You too. You and I both love it when the markets are up. Politics aside, it's better for everybody. But at the same time,
yes.
And by the way, the S&P, just to put a fine point on it, is up 24% year to date. I mean, that is a huge rise year to year for the stock market. But voters, by a big majority, think the economy stinks. And even 61% of Democrats feel that the economy is not doing well, that it's doing badly. 61%. I think it's 93%. Yeah, 93% of Republicans think it's bad. And independents, 85%. That's got to worry the White House bad enough. But when they see 61% of Democrats think it's bad, when will those two truths converge, if they will at all? That the economy feels good and that the investors think it feels good. Will they converge at all in 2024?
Well, do remember, David, that a lot of this rally in the stock market has been very recent. And the market is telling us what will be, not what has been. So you've got this forward-looking indicator, and then you have people making comments about what they think the economy is right now and how they feel right now. And let me just give you where the huge disconnect comes here.
Please.
I mean, people care about jobs, not about unemployment rates. And so when you look at total jobs, it's way down. We have a very low employment rate. Even though the unemployment rate is low, people have just left the labor force. So jobs are way down, which is what people feel. Second thing that's really important is people worry about prices, not about inflation.
Yes.
Now, inflation is related to prices over long periods of time. But right now, prices are up, I think it's 17.7% since Biden took office. Even though the inflation rate is down quite substantially, the prices are not down at all, and it's prices that are killing people. So they obviously are upset. And the last thing is GDP growth. This last quarter was almost 5%, which is a very nice number, except GDP is what's really low. It's not kept track with what happened after Trump left office. It's not caught back up yet at all. And they are looking not at growth rates. People look at output, not at output growth. So all of these things, there's a disconnect in how people report the news as being low inflation, low unemployment, and very high GDP growth. No one cares about those. They care about the levels of this. And that's why people are feeling bad. And they will continue to feel bad for quite some time to come. And they are correct. The reporters on these numbers are not correct.
I throw another thing in there, and that's the rates, because the Federal Reserve has had to cut inflation on its own. They haven't had the supply side help from either legislators or the executive branch to get the economy moved. That's the best way to cure inflation. We know that is to create more things by having a stronger economy. The administration has not been helping the supply side, so it's been all based on interest rates. And as a result of that, the American dream, the mortgage rates have just skyrocketed. I was amazed to see that the monthly payments, the average monthly payments, look at that's how much the rates have gone up. But average monthly payments, to put a fine point on it, $1,700 just before Biden took office. Look at it now. $3,322 is the average monthly payment on a new home. That puts the American dream out of reach.
It does, and that's what people feel and know. And what is reported, especially in other channels, by the way, but here too, what is reported is not really what people care about. They care about prices, jobs, and mortgage rates that compared to what it was before, not whether it's going up or down. One other thing that's really important here as well is everywhere in the world these same phenomena are occurring. Inflation is coming down everywhere else. Prices are stabilizing. All this stuff is a global phenomenon. Interest rates are the same everywhere. So when you look at it, it's not just the U.S. It's not just the U.S. Fed. It's the global economy. And when you look at the global economy, things are not looking good. China is in a free fall. Chile is doing badly. Europe is terrible. I always joke that Britain is in such bad shape, they don't call it the pound anymore. They call it the ounce. So this is all part of what makes this sort of gestalt, if you will, of the whole world really a negative thing for voters. And, we'll see the results of that this coming November. We will. I mean, look at California and Michigan. Two states. They are one of the two only states that raised their state income tax rates this year.
Unbelievable.
California's tax rate now, highest tax rate, is 14.4%, David.
Wow.
They uncapped
We're pretty
their
close to
payroll
it here
tax
in New York,
by
by the way.
1.1%.
Yeah, well, New York ain't far away, and of course Illinois is raising its rates as well. And let me just ask a partisan question. It's not a partisan question, but
sure.
If Donald Trump wins the election and calls up Art Laffer and says, "What should I do to get this economy really roaring again in the right direction?" What would you tell him?
I would tell him just go back and do what you did before, which is great. The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, transparency, all of these things are wonderful. There are some other things I'd like to have him look to when he does the next one looking forward. But he did all the right things back then. And I would especially, David, want him to continue with this warp speed, with this medical development. That's one of the few areas where government spending really had major results. I told you about my daughter, Rachel, whom you know from the Wall Street Journal days. You know, she got metastatic melanoma, and if it hadn't been for Donald Trump, she would be dead today.
Wow.
The immunotherapy that Trump pushed through with the mRNA and all of that saved my daughter's life. I mean, he was just wonderful as president on all the objective issues
energy
that
independence,
I care about.
energy
and
independence.
I just think you should go back and do it again.
Energy independence.
Oh,
was
energy
a big part
independence,
of it.
of course.
Yeah.
I mean, all of these things he did was great.
Yeah, and if Biden's elected, do you expect to see just same of the same? I mean, kind of moseying along?
Well, I don't know. You know, we've had a lot better time that the Republicans took the House.
Yeah.
Before when the Democrats controlled House and Senate, it was worse. And I think that explains a lot of why the stock market is up. If the Republicans keep the House or the Senate, I think it'll be a much less damaging Biden. But the border will still be the same. Yeah. I mean, we'll still have the higher prices. We'll still have all of this bad stuff. There will be no move towards making things better under Biden. But I think the bad Biden is probably behind us unless they win in a landslide. And if they do that, people deserve the governments they get, David.
Yeah,
it's their fault. You know, the earth they are scorching is their earth too. Believe me when I tell you.
Benjamin Franklin said something
to that effect. And the wars we've had, the wars we are having are in part because of this bad economy. I mean,
agree.
Really seriously. I mean, Mundell in his Nobel laureate lecture made it very clear. The Smoot-Hawley tariff led to the Depression, led to the World War II.
It's all connected.
Bad economies lead to conflicts on the global scale.
Art Laffer, great to see you, my friend. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Great to see you. And Happy New Year, David.
Same
You're
to
just
you.
wonderful, and thank you.
Pop a bottle of champagne for me.